Welcome to day 2 of our daily Bible devotions. We continue our discussion this week on the topic of origin, and Professor John Lennox is still going to talk about the topic of origin, particularly answering the question, why is there something rather than nothing? Let's try to answer and ponder about the idea of something rather than nothing.
Now, since scientists in the main agree with Genesis that there was a cosmic beginning, they're faced with a big question. Why is there something rather than nothing? And that brings me to one of the most famous philosophical arguments for the existence of God, the cosmological argument. Since everything that begins to exist has a cause, and the universe began to exist, then the universe must have a cause, namely God. And the father of modern cosmology, Alan Sandage, agreed.
This is what Alan Sandage, the father of modern cosmology, said. He said this about the cosmological argument. I find it quite improbable that such order, referring to the universe, came out of chaos. There has to be some organizing principle. God, to me, is a mystery, but He is the explanation for the miracle of existence. Why there is something rather than nothing. That's from a scientist. Now, he finds it improbable to believe that all this in the universe came out of chaos. Now, on the other side, now here's a scientist, Alan Sandage, saying that if the universe has a beginning, God is the most probable explanation. The naturalist or the materialist, they believe that the universe explains itself.
On the other hand, naturalists and materialists hold that the universe is the ultimate reality, not God. They are therefore logically forced to think that the universe explains itself, hence their problem. How does nothing turn itself into something? Does the universe generate itself? One of the greatest living scientists is Stephen Hawking, and the central argument of his book, The Grand Design, co-authored with Leonard Mlodinow, appears to be this. I quote, "Because there is a law of gravity, the universe can and will create itself out of nothing." The first question to ask is, what does Hawking mean when he uses the word nothing? The universe can and will create itself out of nothing. Because at the beginning of the sentence, he says, because there is a law of gravity exists, for the simple reason that an abstract mathematical law on its own would be vacuous, meaningless, with nothing to describe. So gravity, or a law of gravity, exists, and that certainly is not nothing in the philosophically correct sense of the word non-being. So Hawking contradicts himself, which is very surprising in such a high-powered physicist. However, the situation gets even worse when we consider his use of the word create. Look again at his statement. The universe can and will create itself from nothing. Now, if we say X creates Y, that means we're presupposing the existence of X in order to explain the existence of Y.
Now, this is the importance of X creates Y and why it's important to presuppose the existence of X first before Y. If X created Y, then therefore X has been in existence before Y appeared. Now, the lack of logic of the materialist and the naturalist is that they say that the universe is self-generating. Therefore, the universe created itself. Think about how illogical it is. They're saying that if Y is the universe being the effect, because the Big Bang definitely pointed to the beginning of the universe, therefore it came to existence, then therefore the universe is an effect. Now, they're saying that the universe is the effect, but the cause is also the universe. So it's like saying that Y created Y, not X created Y. Now, how can Y create itself if it's not yet in existence? It's like saying, okay, it's simple cause and effect. If the rain caused your shoes to become wet, now your shoes cannot become wet on its own. There has to be an existence of rain prior to this. Now, the wet shoes cannot explain itself, which is what the materialist is saying. Now, according to scientists and philosophers, now that That materialism, that philosophy, it's not science.
Pointing out that it is logically impossible for a cause to bring about some effect without already being in existence. Ward concludes, Atkins' self-generation of the universe explanation is, of course, demanded from him by his materialist worldview, not his science. Physicist Lawrence Krauss of the Arizona State University fares even worse. In his book, A Universe from Nothing, he complains that theologians and philosophers say that nothing is non-being in some vague and ill-defined sense. But Krauss is wrong. Nothing is non-being in a perfectly clear and well-defined sense of the absence of anything. And Krauss then goes on to say, surely nothing is every bit as physical as something, especially if it is to be defined as the absence of something. This is sheer nonsense. Nonsense, incidentally, remains nonsense, even if it is spoken by scientists. And David Albert, a philosopher at Columbia University, is trenchantly critical of this, not surprisingly. Krauss is dead wrong, he writes, and his religious and philosophical critics are absolutely right. If what we formerly took for nothing turns out on closer examination to have the makings of protons and neutrons and tables and chairs and planets and solar systems and galaxies and universes in it, then it wasn't nothing and it couldn't have been nothing in the first place. And the history of science, if we understand it correctly, gives us no hint of how it might be possible to imagine otherwise. Materialism seems to be coming apart at the seams. It is certainly no answer to the question, why is there something rather than nothing?